fellow viewers, welcome back to another video. This one took a little bit longer to put out just because I wanted to get a nice feel for it. Today we're going to be reviewing the Skunk2 Megapower RR exhaust and the alpha header with it. I have quite a bit to say about this exhaust, plenty of good and plenty of bad as well, as I do with most Skunk2 products. So yet again, this is my 8th gen, 2009 to be exact, Honda Civic Si sedan, so the FA5. And obviously I have the Skunk2 alpha header. I have a rear mount back there as well, and the Megapower RR exhaust, which is the full 3-inch or the 76mm, and not the Megapower R, which is a 70mm, so it's not quite the 3 inches. And most of this review is going to be talking about the 76, the 76mm. The 70mm might not have all the problems that I was having with this exhaust. So let's get straight into that, and first of all, let's talk about price. This exhaust used to be a little cheaper, and it's not so much anymore. And just getting this exhaust is quite expensive, because there's more to it than just the exhaust. So the exhaust, obviously, it's a catback exhaust, so from the catalytic converter or just a test pipe, which is what it's running, that comes with the exhaust, so you can run catless, which is what I'm doing. And just goes all the way back into this muffler. There's a little resonator in there, but again, this is not quiet exhaust, so resonator isn't resonating much. I think it mostly just helps out the droning and stuff that you don't want to be hearing in the rasp. Also, this exhaust was about $600. I think like $650 or low 600s. Don't quite remember that exactly, but about $600. And the header was, again, the Skunk2 alpha header, going straight to where the catalytic converter would be, and now the test pipe. So they match up quite well, and I'll get into that. They match up a little bit well. And that was like $450 or $400. It's been a while. But together, it's making quite a good like $1,000 to like $1,100. Plus shipping is not cheap for these, because it is a very big package for a full exhaust, full header, and they are not lightweight. So shipping is quite a lot of money. I think I had to pay about $200 for shipping, quite a lot of money. So I think at the end I paid around $1,200 for the whole exhaust setup, which isn't totally out of the norm for an exhaust system. You got to think of the supporting mods as well. There's 2 other supporting mods that you have to buy before you just go buy this exhaust. Now, I mean, of course you could just buy the exhaust, but bad idea. If you're watching this video, it's obviously because you care about your car and you want to know how the exhaust is, so you might want to do this right. There are 2 supporting mods. One I had, one I didn't, because I didn't know I needed it. I should have done a little more research. Shame on me. First of all, you need the Honda Flash Pro for your car. It is a full 3-inch exhaust. That is a lot of airflow, a lot more airflow than the stock car, and it would benefit greatly from having Honda, so you could tune it, make sure your air-fuel ratio is good, you're not starving your car out or drowning it in fuel, all that stuff, so you want to make sure it's good. Of course, base maps are not as good as a tune, but from what I had no bad experiences with the exhaust base map. In fact, it did quite well. It wasn't until I added a intake that the base maps weren't cutting it, and I had to get a tune. So the base maps for the exhaust worked completely fine, worked really well. But that is $800 now. Honda has went up. You can get it used, but that's not a great idea. This isn't a Honda video, so you need Honda Flash Pro. I'm not sure if you need it for the 70mm, because it's not quite a 3-inch. I would recommend it, but I'm not sure you need it. But again, this is about the RR. And then second supporting mod, which is thankfully a lot cheaper than $800, is you need a solid rear motor mount. And that's about $90 to $100. I went with PLM. I ordered off PLM. It's not a PLM mount. I think it's a, I don't know. Just go on PLM. It'll be there. It's not the Hasport. I would have went with the Hasport. It's less of a headache to install, but otherwise there's no difference. They're the same rating. It's a 70A rating solid motor mount, and you do need this if you're getting a full 3-inch exhaust. Sorry, I thought there was a car coming, but instead it's all the wind. It's very cold out. A good cold January day. And there is a car. Look at that. 2 cars. So you will need that solid motor mount. Oh, 3. Oh my gosh. I think we're done. We'll figure it out. So you do need that solid motor mount. For the full 3-inch exhaust, it's a... No way. Okay. For a full 3-inch exhaust, you will need the solid motor mount. Again, don't know about the non-3-inch, but this isn't about that. For this solid 3-inch, you will need the solid motor mount because of the way the motor is flip-flopped. It's no longer, the exhaust manifold is not in the front, it is now in the back for the K-Series. The header will slam against the subframe or the firewall, and vice versa with the exhaust without a solid motor mount. So you're going to be clanking and banging, and that's how you could crack the Skunk2 header. If you hear people saying that the Skunk2 header cracked and it broke, probably because they didn't have a solid motor mount or they didn't have one to begin with. So you might want to just get that immediately so you're not going to have rattles, clunks, bangs, and you're not going to break your almost $500 header. So that's a good thing to not do. So now let's just get it. We got all our supporting mods. We got the price. So it's about, I mean, realistically, it's like $2,200, $2,300 to get the exhaust system. If you want your Honda, your mount, and your exhaust and your header. So quite a bit. But let's just get into the install. So now let's start with sound here, because I want to start with some positives. Positives of the exhaust is it sounds really good. I'll try to be putting some clips. I'll probably be putting some clips as I'm talking about the sound. It sounds really good. The quality of sound is very nice. It's not, there's almost no rasp. I haven't heard rasp, period. You know, lots of exhausts, especially Hondas and inline 4s, you know, you put on the gas and there's some rasp, especially when you let off the gas, you hear like some rattles and some rasps coming out the exhaust. That is not a thing in its exhaust. Thankfully, the quality of sound is really well made. I don't think the material of the metal is great, but it doesn't sound bad at all. It actually has a really nice deep sound that the camera can't even completely get. My camera gets the sound better than my phone did or the GoPro does, but it's a lot deeper of a sound than I expected from a 2-liter K20. It's almost like a K24 sound, almost. That little resonator probably puts in some work, I swear. That resonator probably puts in some work, and the muffler doesn't muffle anything. It comes with a silencer in the box. I've never used it because I imagine it's going to rattle and rasp. So I imagine if you have the silencer in, it will rattle and rasp. It does drone, of course. You have a header and a full 3-inch exhaust on an inline 4 that revs to 8,600 RPM. It's going to drone. Kind of kidding yourself if you don't. You might want to go with some other exhausts if you don't want any drone, period. But it's super tolerable. I cannot stand crazy drone like the other SI here just has a muffler delete, and that thing drones like crazy on like decel, on acceleration, just everywhere around. You can't stay quiet. This thing only on load around like 25 to like 3,200 RPM is the most drone, you know, where it's kind of pulling a little power, but it doesn't have a lot of torque. And of course, that that is where you're going to be at on the highway. But if you're not on throttle and you just have cruise on, that drone stays away. It isn't until you start pulling up like a pass or something like that, or you just floor it to pass someone without downshifting, you're gonna get that drone. Or just like if you get up in the high RPM and you just let the throttle off, it's gonna drone a little bit. But no, realistically, I mean, you step on it and it's a gradual sound increase. You know, it's not just straight loudness from the get-go. If you're just driving around town and you're keeping it under 4,000, which I shift around 4,000, just casually, you're not going to be causing a ruckus. I'm constantly around cops when I'm driving around, and I've never once been messed with, got the eye or anything. I haven't got no warnings. It's honestly pretty chill until you step on it and you're hitting that VTEC. It's very loud. There's no getting around that. This full 3-inch is a very loud exhaust. But thankfully, it's very linear with its sound, so you're not going to be screaming just going around town unless you're a menace to society and just flooring it all the time. But it's a very easy, doable, livable exhaust, which I've seen a lot of comments on in my POVs saying, like, is it doable because it's loud, yada yada. It is loud, but I have a kind of high tolerance, but I don't have a high tolerance for drone. I hate drone. And to me, this is my daily, you know, and it has the full exhaust on it, and I am fully comfortable living with it. I even had the stock stereo in for not much longer. Stay tuned for that, but I even had the stock stereo in, which, if you know anything, is a really bad stereo. Like, the quality of the speakers is fine, it just doesn't go very high with volume and everything. But I could put on my tunes on the highway and I could listen completely fine. If I have passengers, I could talk to them clearly without yelling or anything of that nature. The people in the back seat, there's a little more of a struggle, but you still can as long as you're not hitting it. But it's a very doable exhaust, and it sounds really nice. It's quality. It doesn't rasp. It doesn't drone like crazy for a full race exhaust. You know what I mean? Not to be confused with full race exhaust. I mean just like a full technical race exhaust. It's very livable. I very much like the quality of the exhaust. Now, would I buy this exhaust again for my 8th Gen SI? That is a question I don't know, because I very much enjoy this exhaust. It sounds very good, and to be honest, at the end of the day, that's what you care about. You know, you just want your exhaust to sound good, and it's doing that very well. But quality, there is quality sound for this exhaust, but quality build is not so much in the picture, and that's always been my problem with Skunk2. I don't have any Skunk2 parts on any of my other Hondas just because I don't really like their quality, their build quality on anything, especially important stuff like suspension and stuff like that, except I will have to be getting camber arms, Skunk2 camber arms for the rear of this car when it's lowered eventually. Anything super important, I don't like putting Skunk2 on because their build quality has been atrocious famous for being atrocious, not super great. But sometimes they can come out with a banger, and unluckily, this exhaust wasn't. Okay. So I ran into many problems, and this is a problem I've heard of many times. First of all, many bolts just weren't lining up right. We had to get multiple other bolts, and the lineup of this exhaust just doesn't line up properly. In many places, and one big problem that we found out was the test pipe that came with the Skunk2 exhaust. Its flanges are very unfortunate. It's almost as if they made this exhaust for the coupe and then just added this extension for the sedan and made it work. because it does stick out a lot farther than I thought it would. Thankfully, it's not like this far off, so it doesn't look ricey. It almost looks purposeful, but if you were to know, then you would know it sticks out a little too far. But thankfully, it's not distasteful for me. It doesn't stick past the bumper at its highest point, thankfully. It does stick past the bumper down at the bottom, but not at the top. So it's not crazy. I just know it's not fitting properly. And that's just kind of the problems we ran into for like a whole week. You know, I did my install video and I showed a little bit of the trouble spots we had. But over the next coming week, we had lots of problems with rattles and bumps and clanks. And we thought it was just the motor mount. So by the time we put that in, it was still doing it after the fact. So we had to go in. We had to race this car so many times, probably every day during the week, just to figure out why it was making these clunks, what was going on. And I think I have some pictures. One big one was right where the muffler is, where the hanger is for the car. Obviously where the muffler goes onto the rubber hanger. Those rubber hangers, whenever you hit the throttle, because of course we have a solid motor mount now, and it's all solid, it's like, and it's not so skinny anymore, it's so wide, that it was causing the muffler to bang into a support right by the muffler there. So you literally have to cut a piece of your chassis out of the way to make sure that doesn't bang anymore. And then you need to, of course, get your solid motor mount, which Skunk2 does not say, or they didn't when I bought it. You need to bang out a little bit of brackets by the header, because the header is still much more massive than the original one. You need to bang some more little pieces out to where the header meets the test pipe. And again, like I said, the test pipe flange, for some reason, is the triangle like they did, but they made the triangle so big that the top of the triangle is touching the heat shield in the little tunnel where the exhaust would go. So suddenly now, instead of like 1.5 inch for the stock, it's 3 inches, double the size, which fits perfectly fine. But then suddenly they add a huge flange for no apparent reason, and that flange is hitting the heat shield. So then you have to cut out your heat shield up there. Lots of unnecessary steps that I wish I knew straight up, that I didn't know of. So make sure you do that. And then the big one, the huge one that took a long time to find, after we did the hanger back here, we banged out some brackets up there, moved some stuff out of the way of the header, got the solid motor mount in, and then removed the heat shield by where the flange is. We were still banging really hard, and it was rattling pretty bad, and I still couldn't figure out what it was. And this is why I think this is made for, the exhaust is made for the coupe, but they just put it on for the sedan. Is a really big one is, so it's kind of hard to explain, but right after where the test pipe is when it goes into like the full exhaust. Then it turns, and it turns again, and it goes over the axle to the muffler. So before the resonator, after the test pipe, there's the straight tubing, right? And usually it's going straight, and it has like a little kink where it will go down like this and come back up and go over there. And the reason for that is because the chassis, you know, the car, there's a cross member beam, and the exhaust will kind of, that little bend goes under that cross beam so that it could stay clear of the car. Well, of course, this exhaust, being Skunk2 and their R&D sucks, they didn't do that properly, and it is making contact constantly. So all the rattling I'm feeling is the exhaust hitting up against the top part of the chassis, that cross member, and just rattling. And again, we installed everything correctly. I've looked so many times. Everything was properly done. This exhaust has no leaks. Everything's up and running. Everything's good. It is just the quality of the exhaust. So that was a major problem. And every time you would go to launch your car, you'd feel just a huge clunk. And the last thing you want is your exhaust clunking and hitting, because then it gets in a shockwave through your entire exhaust and break the weak points of the system, which happens to be the header flanges. That's what's always cracking on the exhausts. So to keep that from happening, I wanted to stop it, and plus it just feels horrible feeling constant vibration. You could constantly hear it in the car, and just the clunking was horrible, and I didn't want to break anything. So eventually we had to go under there, and as much as I hate to say it, we just had to bang part of that crossframe out of the way. I hate doing that stuff, especially on a frame. But it's not like the whole integrity is gone. We just had to get some of it out of the way. But again, that will tend to happen. These cars seem to have a lot of 8th and 9th gen have a lot of problem with, you know, obviously the stock exhaust is like 1.5 inches, I think, or something like that, maybe 1.75 inches. But going from that to 3 inches is like double the diameter, so you're going to be running into a lot of problems. I was just disappointed in the build quality on how Skunk2 actually did it. I really thought they would have, you know, done the research and knew the problem areas of the exhaust. And it was just really disappointing trying to find all those problems and have to buy the mount that I didn't know of. And that's my fault. I should have done the research. But just all the problem places where it was hitting and slamming and trying to find out where it was and fixing it was really annoying. And would I buy this exhaust again? Probably, because I mean it puts out a lot of power, and it sounds really good, but man, was it annoying to try to get it on. But man, it was so annoying getting it on and finding all the problems. And I put on many exhausts before, but this one was just annoying. It was the most annoying I've had. Not even the install itself wasn't, but finding all the problems. Disassembling the stock one was a pain, just because of getting the stock exhaust manifold out. It was like a multi-piece thing, was really annoying. You had to like lower the subframe, was really obnoxious. So would I buy the Skunk2 again? Probably, but I'm going to be very acutely aware of the problems. I'm going to be pre-cutting some areas, so I know, because I know those places will be hitting. So just be aware of that. If you guys want this exhaust, I do recommend it. It sounds phenomenal, and it's quality sound. It's not bad. And if you're not afraid of, if you want a loud exhaust that sounds really good and gives you power, you can't go wrong. I just want you to be acutely aware of all the problem areas that I had, and just pre-cut some stuff, pre-hit some stuff, and just be aware that you probably got to go under there a couple times if you don't do those things that I told you about, or especially if you don't have the mount. If you want stuff that just fits better, go full race. Full race has better R&D and better quality stuff, but it's a lot different of a sound. You have to like that sound, you know. And I did like that sound, and it's more mellow. So if you want a more mature club racer kind of exhaust, I'd go with the full race. It's quieter, more mellow, and it's more of like a club racer kind of sound, which is nice for sure. You won't be bugged by cops, but to be honest, I haven't been bugged by cops in here. If you're from Cali though, you might want to stay away from it. But yeah, that's that. I'll put in some clips right after this so you can make your decision on what you think of the Skunk2. Put your comments down below if you guys have had this exhaust, what you think of it. Do you have the same problems I had? Or did I just get a really bad exhaust? That probably might have happened. I get that from Skunk2 all the time. It's either really good, no problems, or tons of problems. Man, I don't know. It's like I live next to a highway today. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, but let me know. I'm really curious what you guys think. Holy shit. Another one. Tell me what you guys think. Did I convince you? Did I steer you away from the Skunk2 exhaust? I want to hear your thoughts. Put down in the comments below, and let's roll them clips. I hope you guys enjoy. Have a wonderful day.